All right, you guys, I just figured since I'm asking to use your material that I'd just give you an idea of the context that I was going to be using it in. So this is a presentation. I'm starting into the second part of section 2, and this is just to give you an idea of the prelude of what's coming up before I would be using the photos I'm asking from you guys. So, got that connected there. What I do is I've already explained how fracture mechanics basically works, and then I talk about this idea of sectioning an entire avalanche track and taking just a look at the bed surface and the slab and the weak layer and how they might relate to one another. And basically I run along, we talk about having a trigger, talking about the collapse wave, and we're, different definitions along the way. I go through this whole concept just of talking about, I'm using the term delamination because it makes more sense to me than decoupling, but I'll probably throw both in. Anyhow, here's the whole process occurring in the cross-section context, and just trying to talk about, okay, at one point you have gravity working with you, one point you have it working to drive the fracture process, and then the second phase you have gravity working to drive the release. Anyhow, after I come from here, what I'm trying to do is validate the testing processes and the methodologies that are going on in a snow pit. I definitely went through that way faster than I would. Here's a look at the slide that I'm actually outlining, using as a metaphor throughout the entire talk. And what I do after this is we spin back around, and I'm just showing a basic column type test or beam and notch type test, depending on how you want to look at it. And I'm just talking about, okay, this is why a propagation saw test works. You cut underneath, you create a moment arm. When you're tapping from above, what eventually happens is the weak layer is shattered underneath the shovel handle. And then the resulting moment arm that's created is going to impose stresses on the block, and eventually you wind up with this typical bending type of a process. And this is where, Ned, I wanted to use that photo that you had in your poster from, I think it was 2010. This one here, it's from the Energy Methods poster board. It really, in this case, drives home the point I'm trying to make, that you can even see right before this crack becomes critical how this beam of snow is bending. And boy, if I could use that, I just think it's an awesome descriptive, and this is the context to be being used in. So then I come back around and say, hey, look, the beam's bending out ahead of where you've cut. And then from there, we can start to talk about what this collapse wave looks like once the crack becomes critical and it's self-sustaining, moving along. I use this in a level 3 AVI classes where I can go a little bit more in depth. I'm kind of buzzing. I'm going to skip some of the nuances here. But I wanted to present a little piece here at the end about, okay, what if we compromise the ability of the slab to bend, I mean, one thing that's nice about end crack theory overall is that, hey, it's a good theory because you can forecast outcomes and you can test it. And a theory is only good if it's testable, and that's one of the things that's great for the snow science people. So we talk about the normal cuts that go into the slab and how that could break down the slab in terms of the tensile failure at the top, which breaks the collapse wave, and you get a normal failure in your slab or slab fracture. And what I wanted to do is also address the idea of what if you support the weak layer and you prevent subsidence from occurring in the weak layer. Well, either of these two things should arrest fracture in your tests. And that's why the test is so much more valid than some of the more old school tests, is because you're able to do this now. And then I'm also trying to drive home, since our entire snow avalanche workshop is titled A Conversation About Risk, I want to just bring it back. Okay, can a professional afford to be discounting these types of results? Well, at any rate, for that normal flaw piece, I've got plenty of videos of slope normal cuts arresting fracture. I can pick from an assortment of those. but this one, Karl, that you showed last year at ISSW is a really, really good video that shows how we can arrest the collapse wave just by simply not allowing the weak layer to subside. The thing is that Big Don's out of town and he has the video, but he doesn't have the video because I can't get to him. So I was wondering if you could either put it in a Dropbox or a Google Drive or throw it up on YouTube and I'll pull it down off of YouTube just for a little bit. Any fashion that I could get a hold of that. This is the context where that video would go into place. And then finally, after we do this, I was thinking I might show a deep ECT that shows propagation, spin back out. This is kind of my establishing shot for my whole lecture, and spin myself back to my opening board. So anyhow, that's all how your photos and videos would be used. I'm going to use that 480 column, Karl, that you gave me before as an opening line. I think that just is a great quick visual on what fracture looks like linearized on a long column. But anyhow, thanks for your time, you guys, and I really appreciate you letting me use any of your materials. Thanks a lot. And thanks for all the help over time and helping me understand this too. Have a good one. Bye.